Welcome back. Today we are going to be looking at step 3 in our rendering floor plan series. So if we take a look at our steps, we are just in step 3 of 11 steps that we're working on, and that is going to be transferring line work. So as we're getting ready to render, we've got to transfer the line work for our floor plans onto whatever medium we're working with. So first thing to remember, we are not going to render on copy paper. Copy paper is way too porous for the rendering and mixing that we're trying to accomplish. The second thing is sometimes we think we could save time by rendering over a printed floor plan. So if you were to take a piece of vellum and have it printed on, the problem with that is that the printer ink is often displaced by your markers, which are alcohol based. So that really doesn't work very well. The best thing to do, even though it's tedious, is to trace that line work using a micron pen. So we're going to be placing whatever rendering media we're using on top of our printed plan, and that plan will be printed at scale. Now, your plans are generally at 1/4 inch scale for residential. For rendering purposes, you can render at 1/4 inch scale. You can also blow that up to 1/2 inch scale if you want to get a little bit more detail in there. The tips of your markers are not super fine, so if you're working at 1/2 inch scale instead of 1/4 inch scale, you may find that to be a lot easier for you. So basically, we're going to be using our micron pens to trace the line work. And we'll be talking about which nibs we should use for what objects, and you may want to think about doing this twice even though it's time consuming. So if you do have a catastrophic mistake during the rendering process, you have that other copy ready to go. Okay, let's get started. So this is going to be the CAD plan that I started with, and this was for a house remodel that was done for a couple after a flood issue. So I took off all of the dimensions, the notes. I wanted to get the plan as clean as possible. There's still a couple of electrical symbols hanging out, but for the most part, it's really been simplified and cleaned up. Here I have printed out my floor plan, and I'm working at 1/2 inch scale, so hopefully you can see things a little bit better, and I can get a higher level of detail. Now if you do not have access to a plotter or can't go and have your project printed, remember you can tile that print in Adobe PDF, and you'll do that by printing as a poster. And that will enable you to keep it at scale, and it'll print it out on several sheets of paper. This one plotted onto 4 different pieces, and I use drafting dots to stick this together. The first thing you want to do is to transfer all of your exterior walls and your interior walls. And I find that transferring these walls with a 0.08 micron works really well, especially since we're going to have to come in later and poche these walls. Having that thicker outline for the walls gives you a little bit of leeway when poching. So if you tend to run outside of that line just a little bit, having that thicker ink line kind of keeps it from looking messy and look like your marker went outside of the line. Right now, for those wall lines, we're definitely using a T-square and our triangles. So after we get all of the walls done, we're going to go back in, and now I'm switching to a 0.02 micron, a thinner one, and I'm going to go in and trace anything that requires a hard line. So millwork, cabinetry, furniture pieces that are very rectilinear, I want to use a straight edge and a T-square to transfer those. Next, I'm going to be adding anything that I feel like I need a template for. So circles can be difficult to freehand, especially if you're a little bit new at drawing and drafting. So if you find it easier for you, you can use a template to do the circle shapes, or if you had some octagon, something that was really difficult, you could use a template for that. And again, stay in that 0.02 micron for that. Next, you're going to be going on to the furnishings that are left and any kind of decorative accessories. So to kind of take this away from being a technical drawing to a more of a presentation artistic drawing, I will not use a drafting tool to transfer these lines. I'll just do it by freehand. So if you feel comfortable doing that, feel free to kind of go in and sketch in these furniture pieces and accessories. And it just gives it a nice kind of hand look to it. When you get done with this stage, your line work is all transferred. Remember to remove the copy below, especially if you've got a tiled image that you've taped together, because when we start applying the floor color, the bumps on the paper below will catch and will change the way that our rendering looks. So make sure that you take that off. All right, so that's it for this lesson, and next up we will be laying down our floor color.